In the heart of southwestern Nigeria lies Ibadan, a vast, restless city of markets, bus parks, and political maneuvering. It's a city that never sleeps, where survival means strategy, and power is earned, not given. But behind the bustle of daily life, there once moved a shadow. A man known by many faces, feared by many more. His real name, Lateef Salako. But on the streets, he was known as Eleweomo, a name that echoed through the motor parks of Oyo State, symbolizing both authority and fear. He rose through the ranks of the transport unions, amassed power, and left a trail of violence that shook Ibadan's politics to its very core. This is the real-life story of Lateef Eleweomo Salako, his rise, his reign, and his violent fall. Eleweomo came from Ibadan's urban chaos. Like many young men of the 1980s and 90s, he started small, working in garages, serving senior drivers, collecting tickets, and fighting for control of transport routes. But those motor parks weren't just workplaces, they were mini-kingdoms. Whoever controlled them controlled money, movement, and manpower. And in Ibadan, that meant real power. Eleweomo learned quickly how the system worked, the language of loyalty, the flow of cash, and the link between street politics and government influence. He realized something many didn't. The road to power wasn't through classrooms or elections. It was through the parks. There, Lateef Salako built his reputation. Loyal to his men, ruthless to rivals, fearless in confrontation. His name became legend and warning in the garages of Ibadan. By the 2000s, Nigeria's National Union of Road Transport Workers, NURTW, had become more than a labor group. It was part union, part political machine. And in Oyo State, Eleweomo's rise through its ranks was meteoric. By 2009, he had been sworn in as acting chairman of the Oyo State NURTW, one of the most powerful informal positions in the entire state. From that seat, his influence spread across garages, routes, and even political rallies. His followers, loyal drivers and park boys, called him Baba. To them, he was protector, provider, and enforcer. Eleweomo understood something most politicians didn't. Controlling transportation meant controlling mobility, and controlling mobility meant controlling politics. Every campaign rally, every street movement, they all needed the parks, and that meant they needed him. In Ibadan's power hierarchy, he was no longer just a union man. He had become a power broker, a man whose loyalty could sway elections. But in a city like Ibadan, power attracts enemies, and the streets never forget. Inside the NURTW, one name stood opposite Eleweomo, Lateef Akinsola, better known as Tokyo. Their rivalry would soon plunge Ibadan into chaos. Two factions, Eleweomo's and Tokyo's, battled for union control, political backing, and street dominance. Each claimed to represent the true voice of transport workers. But beneath the slogans lay greed, revenge, and the will to survive. There were reports of garages burned, drivers beaten, and street fights over key motor parks. As elections approached, the battles weren't just about union leadership anymore. They were about political control. Both camps were rumored to have the support of powerful politicians seeking street muscle for local and state elections. To many observers, the NURTW had become a parallel government in Ibadan, one ruled not by officials, but by men like Eleweomo. But in politics, alliances shift as fast as traffic lights, and soon the tide began to turn. By 2010, tension within the union had reached breaking point. In December that year, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, held a local congress in Onaara local government, Oyo State. Delegates from across Ibadan gathered at the IDC primary school in Olunloyo/Ogbere. Among them was Eleweomo. What should have been a routine political meeting quickly descended into chaos. Gunshots rang out, vehicles burned, people scattered, and by the end of the day, Eleweomo was dead. Witnesses described it as an ambush. Others said it was revenge. He was reportedly shot and stabbed during the clash. A shocking end for one of Ibadan's most feared men. His death sent shockwaves through Oyo State. Garages went silent, streets erupted in anger, and the Union, once powerful under his control, suddenly fractured. The headline screamed, "Oyo NURTW boss Eleweomo killed at PDP Congress." In a single day, his empire collapsed. Following his death, the political storm only deepened. Media reports linked several political figures, including Senator Teslim Folarin, to the incident. Within weeks, the senator was arraigned on charges of conspiracy and murder, though he denied any involvement and was later acquitted. Ibadan descended into unrest. Police patrols increased. Armored vehicles rolled through major junctions to stop retaliations. The Union became a battlefield of suspicion, loyalty tests, and revenge. For many, Eleweomo's death marked the end of an era. The fall of the old-school, garage strongman politics that had ruled Ibadan for decades. But others believed it didn't end. It only went underground, into new hands, new names, and new alliances. Even years after his death, Eleweomo's name still stirs debate. To some, he was a man of the people, someone who rose from nothing to become a king among drivers. To others, he was the embodiment of violence, fear, and lawlessness. But one truth remains. He represented a system where the lines between union work, politics, and survival blurred completely. Eleweomo mastered the art of street influence, loyalty built through cash, protection, and constant presence. He was always visible, at garages, at events, at political rallies. He understood that on the streets, power depends not on position, but on perception. And maybe that's why people still talk about him. Because behind the violence and controversy lies a story about human ambition, about how far someone can rise when opportunity meets chaos. So what can we learn from the rise and fall of Eleweomo? First, power built on fear doesn't last. He ruled through loyalty and intimidation, but once the fear faded, his empire crumbled overnight. Second, politics without principle is a trap. Eleweomo became a pawn in a larger political chess game, and when the board changed, he was sacrificed. Third, society must redefine leadership. When ordinary workers turn to violent figures for protection, it reveals a deeper failure, the system's inability to provide justice and opportunity. And finally, history always remembers. Even today, Eleweomo's name is a reference point in Ibadan politics, a reminder of what happens when unions, power, and politics collide. This was the story of Lateef Eleweomo Salako, the man who rose from the motor parks of Ibadan to the top of the NURTW, and fell on the same streets that once made him powerful. So, what do you think? Was Eleweomo a victim of political betrayal, or the architect of his own downfall? Let's talk about it in the comments. If you found this story powerful, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss more untold Nigerian stories about politics, power, and the people who shaped our nation. Thanks for watching, and remember, in Ibadan, power often rides on four wheels, but it never drives straight.